We half expected to see a PTR update yesterday, but since we didn't get one, and Jeff Kaplan on the forums recently said that they think the balance of the game's in a pretty good spot, we may not even get one next week. But even without any balance updates, we still have a ton of community news to cover. First up, here's Seagull's thoughts on Reaper.
Tanks in Overwatch are overpowered. Tanks in Overwatch have a lot of armor. Reaper kills tanks. Reaper gets countered by armor. Why? Why not just make Reaper have armor penetration? And I know D.Va and Lucio are the big counters to Reaper, but it doesn't help that in between those CC and general abilities that he doesn't really do that much damage because he has to get through the armor anyway.
Now, the state of armor is pretty interesting, actually, especially when you consider what Josh So told Surefour on his stream not so long ago when he had an interview. The concept of armor itself was instituted so characters like Tracer and Reaper at the launch of the game didn't dominate. Because their damage is so reliable and they fire in a big spread, they're very effective against tanks. And in order to have a bit of counterplay with that, tanks were given a bit of armor health to not just simply fall over like a house of cards against the big spread burst damage. But now we're at quite a weird spot where, at the highest levels of play at least, tank comps are going unchecked. The full 0 damage, 3 tanks, 3 supports, or goats compositions dominate everything. They're the strongest thing you can run, which is important because I know from watching other clips of Seagull's stream, when you're only playing at the highest levels of play, I think a lot of players don't know that most players, especially tank players, don't feel like tanks are this massively overpowered character, and it comes from the fact that level of strength from 3-3 only starts to kick in when you're a really high-level tank player, and when your base Overwatch instinct for team play, which does develop over time, knowing how to cycle cooldowns and play alongside a teammate even if you're not communicating, all of that gets a lot better the higher up the ranks, and of course into the pro scene as well, where the teamwork is maximized. I mention that because if you institute Reaper to have armor penetration all of the time, sure, it may fix the GOATS meta, but I already thought Reaper was devastating against a normal 2-2-2 tank composition before we started seeing the 3 tank, 3 support. It's only until you stack all of those tanks together where Reaper can't really fight, because they're able to cycle their tanking cooldowns and have plenty of close range damage to deal with him. If he's just buffed to be able to handle that power creep comp, all of a sudden, anytime Reaper's up against a normal 2-2-2 setup, he will just walk over tanks. And I already thought he was strong for that purpose, even if he wasn't very competitive at the highest tiers, and that's something we also have to remember. Reaper's not supposed to be a character that is incredibly competitive at the highest tiers. His skill cap is supposed to be lower than many of the other damage options. So these are some of the insane struggles Blizzard has to dance around when you're trying to balance a game and make it work for all level of player. I like playing Reaper. I would like for Reaper to get a rework too, but I think if you start to give him more mid-fight mobility options like a leap or something, he starts to overlap with Tracer and make her a bit irrelevant, especially considering his damage is way better than hers. And as I stated, if you just give him a raw buff, well, he's going to dominate some of the medium and lower tiers of play where he already was pretty good. So if you have opinions on this and think you have the solution that can make Reaper more viable to stop the GOATS apocalypse at the higher levels of play, but also not just completely walk over lower ranks, let us know in the comment section down below. More on balance news, Taimou has been hilariously streaming McCree and only using the right click. Yep, fan the hammer, McRight click is back, and the results are pretty hilarious. Now, when I reported on this originally, I did say it was insane, but I think we also forgot the next tier of insanity, that McCree also can get a reload off of his deadeye cancel, meaning that the potential combo of 3 right clicks in a row, including a roll and a deadeye cancel, will do 990 damage. That's right, 330 each. You stun, fan, roll, fan again, deadeye, fan a third time. This is just hilarious to watch. And I don't know if it's problematic or not. You'll have to let me know if you think this is overpowered in the comment section down below. A long time ago, McCree was able to just body tanks. Now, granted, there was a lot less power creep in the game surrounding him, but effectively, since we've buffed McCree's range damage on his primary fire, and now his Fan the Hammer has returned to its former glory, it's basically like we have release day McCree yet again, who dominated play back then. Will he dominate again? I'm not so sure. He's definitely alive. lot scarier at close range now, though, because you don't have to be pressured into hitting difficult shots, because if you think about it, even when you're going up against a flanker, at 55 a shot, you only have to hit 3 of those to kill a Tracer. Add 1 more if you're fighting a Genji, and if you have a deadeye to reload cancel, well, you're going to get 18 total shots with your 3 fan the hammer attempts, so the gunslinger certainly can spray and pray. I don't know if I have much more to say about this. I know we are talking about Reaper, but hey, maybe McCree's been the answer to these tanks all along. We just needed the tank busting fan back. And you know what, at this rate, let's just let it headshot too. Why not? I want to be able to do 2,000 damage in one combo. On to more news. We're going to give you an update on Kephrii and what's been going on with him. If you haven't seen our previous news roundup videos, Kephrii made the trek all the way to Korea to compete in the Contenders Pacific division, where, as he's explained publicly on his videos, he is completely incapable of communicating with his team, but he's having some success. And Jayne actually did a full breakdown of one of his matches playing Widow on Dorado, where he broke down and critiqued Keffrei's playstyle, and then, for a bit of streamception, Kephrii made a reaction video to Jayne's analysis video, and now I'm doing a news video reacting to Keffrei's reaction of Jayne's analysis of, I don't know where we're at anymore. I'm lost somewhere in the multiverse. But some interesting takeaways from this is Jayne was quite critical of Kephrii's approach to essentially play very small and tight angles where the opposing team may not know where he is, but giving himself basically a small peephole to shoot from. And Kephrii's defense of that is to be able to surprise his opposition by being far out in the distance in a spot that they can't scout. And the way Jayne explains it is normally an Overwatch League level Widowmaker will take the biggest angle you can, where you're way out in the open but can see the entire field and really pressure those angles. So kind of interesting, the 2 approaches. We'll have to see how that pans out. It's a little bit like different fighting styles in the UFC, right? These different strategies and play styles come to a head as the competition increases. And Kephrii understands that Overwatch League level players play differently. Of course, he's playing on a team where he can't communicate, so he does a lot of things just to get solo value. But with any luck, he'll be able to translate this moving upwards in the competitive scene. Good luck to you, Kephrii. Well done. Keep clicking them heads. And speaking of the competitive scene, the Overwatch League had a slew of updates recently, and also now we have the schedule as well. The league comes back on Valentine's Day. How sweet of them. February 14th, we are kicking it off at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and they're doing sort of a NFL staple here, where the previous Grand Finals winners will have a rematch, the Fusion versus the Spitfire. And as you can tell, the schedule is jam-packed. There's going to be 4 games in a day, 4 days a week. So starting on Thursday and going through Sunday now as well. They're planning on each one of these matches to be an hour and a half apart. Are we still playing 4 maps? How is that going to work out? I have no idea. Normally it's 2 hours. They're going to have to optimize their schedule somehow. But I also will note, it doesn't look like there's a preseason anymore, which is probably a good thing, as once it kicks up, we're right into the thick of it. No mucking about with matches that don't matter. I mean, I personally liked the preseason because it helped me evaluate the teams and sort of rank them before the real season started, but that's fine. I'll just have to do my guesswork like everyone else does prior to even seeing any of the teams play. But also as well, the map pool was announced for stage 1. We're going to have a bigger map pool, which is good for the viewers, I think, because we'll see a bigger variety of maps rotated throughout the stage, but also worse for teams because they have way more maps to prep for. I don't know if they're going to keep the scheduled map pool or if they're going to finally go back to loser's pick. They did end up doing that for Contenders, so I don't see why they wouldn't do it for Overwatch League as well. This would make expanding the map pool make a bit more sense, as you're more likely to be able to develop strategies for one of the 3, whereas if you have loser pick and there's only 2 maps available, well, one of them might not be popular at all and you only ever see the other one, which still can kind of happen with 3 maps as well, but a little less so, you would hope. Other cool update for the Overwatch League, they will be having Homestead weekends where, no, we don't have full regionalization yet, but this season we will start to introduce it. The Dallas Fuel, Atlanta Reign, and Los Angeles Valiant, which is kind of cheating, let's be honest, will have 3 sanctioned home games as listed here, where they'll take the whole production to that city and have a proper Overwatch League match hosted by that home team. And if you're from those cities, you can get your tickets to the corresponding venues, which are already set up to see you some Overwatch League action live. I do suggest it. If it's anything like the arena that I went to in LA. I would describe it as being cozy, like a moderate-sized movie theater, but really high-tech. There's a lot of big fancy screens, stuff to look at, cool gift shop. I hope they bring the whole experience like that. And being surrounded by fellow fans for, especially like the Dallas Fuel, for example, you're gonna have a good time, I think. Announced with this as well, you can now get the away skins for all of your Overwatch League teams, and you already have them actually if you bought any, because anytime you get a skin for a corresponding team, you will now also get the away skin, and if you get a skin for one of the expansion teams, those will be added later or closer to the launch of the Overwatch League Season 2. Well guys, that's everything for today's news roundup video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to leave it a like. It really does help us out and let us know that you're enjoying the content, and if you haven't already, please subscribe because we upload each and every day, so you're gonna wanna hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Link in the description is our Twitter, where we tweet out news, updates, and dank memes. That's been it for me. I've been Frito for your Overwatch. We'll see you guys next time.